Thank you to all of our essential workers, regardless of who you are or what your occupation is. If you didn't have the luxury of zooming your way over the last 4 months, we all say thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. So we're going to begin, first of all, thank you to all of you for coming out today. We're going to start our program today with a benediction and a prayer from Mother Culhane from St. Philip's Episcopal Church.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
Thank you very much. I am honored to offer this opening. Please join me in a moment of silence as we center ourselves in gratitude. Creator of all people, Lord of all life, source of all wisdom, Prince of Peace. We gather here today to give thanks for the generosity of this community, especially the extraordinary dedication and sacrifices of our essential workers. Move us by their example to bear compassion and love to our neighbors. Strengthen us to remain vigilant in the prevention of disease and pain. Inspire this gathering that we may be a united body of transformation and positive social action. Grant us your peace, that sickness and oppression and division may rule no more. Guide us to plant the seeds for peace on earth, where freedom and health will reign. In our amazing diversity of size, shape, color, and giftedness, help us to be good stewards of our many talents and resources for the good of all. Above all, breathe your spirit upon us.
I have wipes for the
Gather
mic,
us as
and I
one
forgot.
body, and bind us to service and peace. In your holy name, we
Yeah.
pray.
Sorry, I'm not Facebook Living it. Amen.
Thank you, Mother Culhane. I'm going to turn things over now to Councilmember Justin
Give it to
Brennan
him
to say a few remarks.
after, so you can just have once
Really,
he's
the
off.
main show here is
Just
to
once he's done, give it to him so he can do it at least a few times.
Offer some greetings, and then we'll get the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Councilman?
It's too late. Oh, God.
Thank you so
Hey,
much,
I'm gonna get
Senator.
back.
Thank you all for coming out today. I know it's hot. It's the
For the
middle
mic.
of the summer. We really, really appreciate you all being here.
Sorry,
coming
thank you.
together as a community. Our neighborhoods have always been together, have always been able to come together like small towns when things get tough. And that's that spirit that we need right now. This is a very
Kate's here, so just
combustible
have him go at
time,
the
a
very
very
end.
anxious time in our city, our state,
I don't
our
know.
nation. And no one is ignoring that. But it's so important to think
See if I
about
could get, hold on.
the darkest days of this pandemic, when you have hundreds of people dying every single day. Hundreds of people,
Can you
our
take my phone
neighbors
just for
in
a
the
minute?
city and the
Facebook
state,
Living it.
that were dying every day.
Thank you.
There were people that got up and kissed their families goodbye and went to work, knowing that they were putting their lives on the line. And not only the first responders who put their lives on the line every day, but people who suddenly were on the front lines, right? Delivery workers, grocery workers, building cleaners, clerks. These are people that did not sign up to be first responders. These are people who didn't sign up to put their lives on the line, but they did. They did because they got up and they went to work knowing the risk that was out there and that they were putting their lives and their families in jeopardy. But in order to keep the city running, they got up and they went to work. So that's really what today is about, that they were united in that. If we can carry that spirit with us every day and remember that these are our neighbors. These aren't superhuman people, right? Cops, firefighters, EMS workers, paramedics, delivery drivers, food delivery folks, office cleaners, daycare workers, obviously our teachers, our educators, our daycare staff, our direct support staff. These are our neighbors. They're not robots. They're not immune to the virus. They're not immune to the challenges and the obstacles that we all face. But they got up out of a love for their city, their country, for their love for the service that they do, and they went to work. it's something as simple as going to work. They put their lives on the line, and they're still doing it today. But 3-4 months ago, when we were really at the height, the darkest days of this pandemic, these men and women got up every day and went to work. It's something that simple, that they put their lives on the line. That's something that we can never forget. That sacrifice that they made, we can never forget that. Even in these tough times when things might be divided politically, we cannot forget that people put that aside and went to work and did the right thing to help the city get through some of our darkest days. So thank you all so much for coming out today. This really means a lot to us, and I think it shows our community that we can come together and stand united for what's right here. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Now we're going to have one of our first guest speakers address you all today. He is Lieutenant Anthony O'Hara, who is an EMS worker who works out of the Sunset Park Station House, which actually covers our neighborhoods here in Bay Ridge and Dyker Heights, and is really, throughout this entire crisis and pandemic, has really been on the front lines of seeing what it's been like to respond to those emergency 911 calls. 8,000 in one night, I think it was. It's about 7,200 in one night alone, a record. And the impact that had on our EMS workers and our EMTs, both professional and volunteer as well, is really tremendous. So I want to have Anthony say a few words. Anthony?
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to acknowledge first and foremost to the Senator and Councilman Brennan for arranging this. It's a big thing for us here. I have some prepared remarks, so bear with me. Thank you again. Both of them have been big supporters of us in the EMS and medical communities. I'd also like to thank all of you for coming out today. It's important to get together in ways like this during times like these. It's important we remember the sacrifices made by us in the medical field as essential workers, and to remind ourselves we are part of the communities we serve. I wish I was standing here today talking about what was as if it were a thing of the past. But as we all are aware, the fight against COVID is very much still a current issue we have to face. In a 2-month span, I personally have seen more cardiac arrests related to this pandemic than in the last 10 years of my career. We in the EMS community have not had the luxury of standing down and returning to a normal mental sense of operations. We have had forced suicides recently to remind us of this. We see what is happening in other parts of the country and world and remain vigilant for if and when it comes back here. This pandemic has shown us what we must work on as a society. That is transparency and communication. The ability to see past our colors, socioeconomic statuses, and political affiliations and truly unite as Americans is what has made our country great in the past during our darkest hours. And is what is sorely lacking today. For us in the EMS, the EMTs, paramedics, and the medical field at large, we have no choice but to be in this battle. We are the frontline workers who will give those afflicted the best possible outcome to live. Events such as today will help foster communication and bring about a sense of togetherness, which will be the only way we can move forward as a society. During the height of the pandemic, when all fell silent in this country and in this great city, all everyone heard was the roar of our sirens coming to save them. Now they will hear the outcry of our voices to remind them that we are still here, tired and a bit weary, but when you call, we will still come. When this is all said and done, we will not let you forget us and the sacrifices we made. And if I might borrow the words of the great poet Maya Angelou, leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into the daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. And when this is all over in the medical community, especially EMS, we will rise. We are the communities we serve. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Anthony. You know, there is nothing profound or impactful that either I or Justin can say about today than your presence here, that'll surpass your presence here, or that'll surpass the words that we'll hear from our guest speakers, like we just heard from Anthony, who represents thousands of EMS workers who have stories just like his, and who every single day put on that uniform to go out and answer that call of duty and make sure that every single call gets answered, regardless of who it is or where they come from or what their circumstances may be. The reality is we know that COVID has absolutely devastated us. Absolutely devastated us. We all know people who have gotten sick. We all know people who have died. We all know people who have lost their jobs. We all know people who can't put food on their table because of COVID. We all know people who are struggling to keep a roof over their heads because of COVID. And the impact of it is still immeasurable. It's still immeasurable. But the fact that you are out here today, even though we're not through the pandemic, numbers might be lower now, but we know we're not through it. The fact that we are all out here today to pause and take a moment to say thank you. Thank you to all of the workers, all of the essential workers who helped keep this city going during some of our darkest days is really a testament to the strength of this community. It absolutely is. And unfortunately, or fortunately, COVID has exposed two truths, I think, about our society. Number one, that even though we all like to say that the virus was indiscriminate in who it's impacted and how it's impacted us, we know that that's not entirely true. We know that communities of color, people of color, were more likely to get sick and die. We know that lower wage workers were more likely to lose their jobs and face more difficult circumstances than others. We know these things. This shouldn't come as a surprise, but it's been laid bare before us because of COVID. But on the other hand, I think COVID has shown us a fortunate truth, and that is that it confirms what we've all kind of deeply suspected, and that there are those among us who truly are the essential workers of our community. That our heroes were not the people on Wall Street or the people in sky-high skyscrapers. Our heroes were not the people who fly private jets from island to island to escape the worst of a disease. But our heroes and the people that got us through this are the people who don a uniform every single day, regardless of color, are the people who still had to make sure that those buses were operating and those trains were moving forward and those grocery shelves were stocked and those patients were being cared for and those clients were being seen and those children were being provided for. Those were the essential workers. Those were the true heroes. So the silver lining of all of this is that I think, or I hope, it has reconfirmed for us, or reaffirmed for us, just how important these people are. And that is why we are all here to say thanks. That is why we are all here united in gratitude. That is why you are all holding these signs and carrying these flags and holding these flowers. We know that the last few months have been difficult. Everyone's been impacted in different ways. We know that it's been tense in our daily lives. We know that it's been tense in our communal lives, that tension has created lots of anxieties, that those anxieties have created a fear that we have, and it's okay to be afraid at times. But you know, fear can make us be people less than the best we're possible of being. Fear can lead us to write an angry post on Facebook instead of talking to the neighbor who moved in down the block. Fear can cause us and force us to assume the worst about people instead of searching for the best in them. And so we all, as human beings and as people united in community, have to overcome that fear together. And we are able to do that because we've done it before. There is an indomitable spirit in this community that allows us to overcome challenges whenever they're presented to us. We did it after 9/11. We mourned the people we lost, we aided those who were injured, and we made sure that we helped rebuild the city. We did it after Superstorm Sandy, because even though we weren't as affected on this side of Brooklyn, we know that many of our neighbors in other parts of Brooklyn and other parts of the city were affected, so we made sure that we fed them and that they had a roof over their heads. We've done this. We've come together before, regardless of how we might feel about politics, about issues, about other things, and we've come together united to say thank you. And we've recognized and we've remembered that what unites us is far greater and far more than what divides us. And that when we put ourselves in boxes, it only makes our ability to communicate with each other more and more difficult. It's not us versus you. It's not them versus them. It's all of us together. And that's what today is about. That's what thanking our essential workers is about. And that's what it's going to take us to overcome and move beyond COVID. Because there will be a day when COVID is gone. There will be a day when we don't have to look at ourselves wearing masks and worry about gloves and sanitizer. That day will come. We don't know when it's going to come, but it will absolutely come. And so the question we should all be asking ourselves is, what kind of a community do we want to be living in when that day comes? Is it a community shining on a hill where everyone, regardless of who they are or where they come from or who they love or who they pray to, can live peacefully and safely and united in harmony? Or is it a community where we send angry messages to each other back and forth and we divide ourselves and say you versus me, us versus them? I think that's a choice we all have to make. And I assume, or I want to assume, because you are out here today, that you are all choosing the path of unity and community. So for that, I say thank you very much. Thank you for being out here, and thank you to all of our essential workers again. Thank you. We are now going to be joined by Dr. John Marshall from Maimonides Medical Center, another one of our essential workers that did a phenomenal job in responding to the COVID crisis and being on the front lines to keep our neighborhoods healthy and safe. Doctor?
Thank you very much. And on behalf of Maimonides Medical Center, I'd like to thank Senator Guinardes, Councilman Brennan, Councilman Lander, I believe, is here as well. Hey, Brad, nice to see you. And most importantly, I really want to thank the essential workers of Brooklyn. Not just the people in the hospital, but everybody out on the streets, everybody keeping our communities vibrant, thriving, healthy, and really the great actions of our essential workers keeping the city going and helping our citizens socially distance, stay healthy, keep each other, take care of each other, make sure the people who need help get help, and most importantly, being cautious during this pandemic has been a real blessing. And I think the lesson of New York and the work that New York's done is obviously reflected in in where we stand now compared to where the rest of the country is. And I think we've all been through some dark days. We've lost essential workers ourselves at the hospital. It's been sad for all of us. But we're all hardened. Everyone at the hospital, especially, is hardened by the support we've gotten from everybody in Brooklyn and from the communities around the hospital. Maimonides Medical Center is a community hospital. It's based in Brooklyn. It's an only Brooklyn organization. It treats people from Brooklyn. The workers there live in Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn. All of you all live in Brooklyn. It's we're here for the communities. And during the past few months, as challenging as things have been, it's been really incredible to know that the communities have been here for us. And so for that, I want to say thank you, thank all of you. Thanks to the essential workers for keeping everything going. And if I may, for 1 second, I'd like to, remind everybody that, this is a fearful time for folks. The pandemic is rightly made a lot of people frightened, scared. People don't necessarily want to go to the hospital because they're afraid they might be exposed to something else. But, I'm here to let you guys know that, the hospitals are safe, right? And we're seeing kind of a different effect from the pandemic that maybe doesn't get a lot of coverage. And that's that people are afraid to come to the hospital. People are afraid to come to be seen. And so sometimes people are staying home longer than they should. So just as a piece of advice for you, your family members, your friends, the folks in your neighborhood, if you're feeling sick, the hospital is a safe place. It's safe. We're ready to care for you. We're open all the time and prepared, and we're doing it in a way that'll keep you safe, take care of the coronavirus patients, the very small number that are still left away from everybody else, make sure that everyone's getting the care they need in a safe, really, really safe and caring environment. But none of that would be possible without the support of our essential workers and our elected officials. Thank you very much for inviting us here. Thanks for the support from Maimonides Medical Center, and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marsha. Before I call up our next and final speaker, I just want to recognize we've been joined by Assemblywoman Nicole Malliotakis and City Councilmember Brad Lander. Thank you both for joining us. And our last speaker for this afternoon is Linda Carlton, who is a resident at the Guild for Exceptional Children.
All right, thank you, Linda.
Good afternoon,
Good
everyone.
afternoon.
My name is Linda Carlton. For 8 years, I've been living in Canoda's residence. I would like to thank about the DSP staff that don't get enough recognition for all the hard work they do for us. For example, DSP staff do goals, prepare meals, assist us with teaching hygiene. We learn how to be more independent adults out in the community. Also, DSP accompany us to doctor's appointments, motivate us, and help us live meaningful and productive lives. For me personally, many years, people who work at the Guild for Exceptional Children have helped me get through this challenging time with COVID-19. DSP staff have helped us set up Zoom classes every day to keep us active and continue to teach us new and valuable skills such as cooking, drawing, strategy, games, spelling, and math. They help us stay connected to our family and friends. Staff in my residence have been entertaining us with movies, games, walks in the neighborhood. They have educated us about the coronavirus and how to protect ourselves and be safe. For example, hand washing and social distance. These are the reasons why DSP staff are important of our daily lives. I would like to thank all the DSP staff who supported us, who took good care of us for all their hard work they do, and we appreciate you and we love you, and thank you for making us feel special and giving us confidence to do things on our own independently. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. That was beautiful. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, everyone. It's hot. The sun's beating down on us. Many of you have traveled to get here, so I want to just say thank you very much to everyone that joined us today. Please make sure you keep your signs. We have extra signs if you like, extra flags, extra flowers. I hope you all have a safe and lovely day. And please, please, please remember that this is not just an opportunity thing. We're not just saying thank you once. We have to be continuously and perpetually saying thanks to our essential workers, regardless of what occupation they hold. So thank you to our essential workers once again, and thank you to all of you for being out here. Have a great day.
Sign is okay.